everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best of 5 series, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on good old Oceanborn. Spotting right here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Reynor. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Protoss pieces, we're looking at Skillous' main Nexus. This particular series is the Big Brain Bouts, number 66. The Big Brain Bouts. This is a weekly tournament, in case you're unfamiliar. I haven't really casted a whole lot of games from this event yet. Recently, though, I ran out of replays for me to go ahead and cast, and I decided to go around the StarCraft community and basically hold up my hands and be like, please, sir, can I have some replays? And it turns out the guys from Basilisk, Rotti in particular, they were generous enough to send me over the Big Brain Bouts 66, which is pretty sick because, well, they have a wide variety. Usually there's a wide variety of players participating in these events. From like, you know, even commentators every once in a while to like up-and-coming pro gamers and players that are just really good at the game but maybe don't get as much attention as yeah, they probably should be getting. And then every once in a while there's also a match like, for example, this one. Reynor versus Skillous is obviously a very high-profile match. Two of the very best players from the European server. So I haven't seen this yet. I do know who ends up winning it because basically what I did is I sent Rotti a message. And Rotti was like, hey, Lowko, do you know the results yet? And I was like, no, I don't know the results. And then I literally went to Twitter just about 5 seconds, or X rather, about 5 seconds after he asked me whether or not I knew the results. And I spoiled myself. Yeah, I managed to spoil myself within seconds of saying I did not know the results. Anyways, doesn't matter. Journey before destination. As per usual, we always want to look at the games rather than at the actual outcome. From what I understand, it's a really good match. Alrighty, so what exactly do we have here? So far, standard opener for Reynor, forced to take his third base as his very first expansion. It does make the game a little bit more annoying for the Zergs, but usually at this level of play, it doesn't really matter all that much. For everybody below the pro level, it's usually preferable to have the natural taken. There are build orders to basically guarantee the natural. Like, for example, the 15 hatch opener that has become relatively popular, but it seems like the top tier pros just don't really care. Like, there are advantages, of course, as well, to having your third base as your very first expansion. The creep spread is a little bit easier, and in general, you're obviously also sort of in between the attack paths. Say, for example, there's an Oracle that spawns over here, flying straight across. It's gonna come, yeah, even if it's sent into the main base, it's still gonna come across this third. In general, it's not a terrible location, assuming you can deal with the early game adepts. So far, Adept just hanging out by itself. The queens, obviously, at this point in time are fully disconnected. But we do have Zergling speed finishing up soon. That's going to make the game a little bit more manageable. Getting a drone here would be nice. So far, you can see Reynor isn't even really taking the bait. He could have pulled that other drone as well. But it just took a bit of a beating and then immediately got sent around. This one over at... Ooh, this is a big surround. Getting surrounded by slow Zerglings is the worst case scenario, because now the Zerglings can go on the offense, and taking a third Nexus is gonna take, well, quite a bit of defense now. Problem is, normally the Oracle, this one right over here, it would go straight across the map. Now it needs to be used for base defense instead. Pulsar Beam gets activated, that's a little bit of energy down the drain, and this Oracle, because that Adept ended up dying, needs to stay at home. So let's see. Good start here for Reynor. You should obviously never get surrounded, right, by slow adepts like that. Or you should never have your adept rather get surrounded by slow Zerglings like that. But every once in a while, these sort of things do happen. Little mistakes were made. In the end, though, it shouldn't matter all too much. Nice little bit of Zergling control. The adepts, yeah. Only a single one so far. Oracle was sent across the map. It's over at the natural. But it got only a single kill so far. I don't know if I am loving this right here for our Protoss player. Roachwarn coming up. See, the thing is, usually when Protoss kills about a dozen workers, life's really good for Protoss, right? And then the follow-up attacks, ooh, they're gonna be quite interesting. Usually they can straight up win the game. Skillous is forced to now, since he hasn't really done any damage, he is actually a little behind at this point. He's going to be forced to do something, anything, to try and bring this back into a reasonable game. And apparently, the strat we're going to go for is double Robo. Double Robo is a little bit funky to me. We'll have to see what Reynor's choice is going to be. If he decides to go for, like, say, oh, the Lair is actually only just now coming up. If he wanted to go for, like, any sort of mid-game aggression that is not Roach-based, I think Skillous would be in a lot of trouble. Even against, like, Swarm Hosts, but also against Mutas, Quick Hive. A lot of build orders are quite difficult, I think, here for Skillous to hold, but he needs to take a bit of a chance, and at this point, yeah, we're just going to be pumping out Immortals 2 at a time. So this is going to lead towards a pretty nice timing attack, and it's going to have more Immortals than Reynor would normally be used to. He's going to go Overlord Speed here as well. Overlord Speed is usually a thing you get only if you want to go for example, a Queen drop. So that may very well be the next step right here for Reynor. I don't think it's a great choice. I think it's a little late, to be honest, if he decides to go for a Queen drop. Especially knowing he's going to be running, if that ends up being the strat here, he's going to be running into mass Robo production already. It will be Blink. We have a Templar Archives on the back of this too, so, okay. Spire is indeed an excellent choice here for Reynor. So if he decided to go mass Roach Ravager here, I think the game would be incredibly hard for him to win. Spire went ahead. Is a little funky, but not entirely uncommon. If he can get like 10 Mutas or so out, I think it'll be quite difficult for Skillous to really chase it down. I mean, there's a chance he's gonna go straight Storm. Storm into a 4th Nexus, yeah, would not be a bad option. If he has Storm done in time and Reynor does see what's happening, you know, scouts the additional Immortals, this may very well prompt a push right now from Skillous, who does fire up the Storm research. Okay. At this point, there's literally 2 Stalkers available. These are the only 2 units that shoot up. Even if you do have Storm, Mutas are going to be hard to counter anyways. I'm a little afraid that what we're going to see is the Spire finish up, Reynor smash his piggy bank, make about a dozen Mutas, and then Mutas kill everything. All of this, though, is mostly just a desperation play, right? There is absolutely zero vision here for Skillous, who's crossing his fingers, and he starts up a Phoenix. He didn't? No, he did see the Spire just now. Okay, he just threw a Revelation in his area. He did see the Spire, and he starts up Phoenix production. Okay, that actually changes everything. If he can get a couple Phoenixes out, he can kite and actually withstand the Mutas for a little bit. I love the scouting right there with the Oracle. He does get vision of the +1 upgrade even. That is a very committed Muta play now. It'll still be difficult though, but at least he found out about this push before it went across the map. We have a couple Archons as well. Photon Cannons and Static Defense in general in every mineral line. We have a Contamination on a Stargate. Okay, well here come the Mutas. This first deflection is actually the most important one. Because the longer that this goes on, the easier it'll become here for Skillous to defend against all of this. Although at this point he doesn't have any High Templar anymore, but he decided to cancel the Storm research too. Okay, he canceled Storm and decided to use the gas on an additional Archon. Fair enough. More Phoenixes are coming out. Pulsar Beams are activated. So far the Mutas haven't really found a lot of value yet. Battery overcharge as well over at the 3rd. Okay. I mean, great crisis management here by Skillous. This is a very tricky scenario. The problem for him is that those Immortals are basically useless now, right? Like, what exactly are the Immortals achieving? They're fighting against Mutas and Lynx. A couple Stalkers and an Adept sleeping on the job over in the Natural Expansion. Zerglings sneak into the main base, but so far not a lot of damage done yet by the Italian Zerg. I'm just a little afraid that I'm gonna blink my eyes and then suddenly an entire mineral line disappears. That's usually how these sort of things go. Phoenix ends up going down. Stalkers are not in large enough numbers to really fight this. Archons obviously have a hard time getting into the main as well. Reynor is gonna start just adding on more and more army here. Yeah. He's got a bunch of Zerglings. That is his mineral drop. One thing I would have loved to see is just something else to add on more defensive capabilities. I think his plan is just fully counterattack instead. I mean, I was thinking maybe spine crawlers, but against this many immortals, that might not be the best of choice. Skillous is going to go on the offense. So he doesn't have any use for these units over here, so he decided, you know what, I guess I'll send them out. There's a chance, I guess, that it can deal some damage. Recall is going to be used, but with that one Archon disappearing, another one also shows up. 20 probes have now gone down. And in a very strange way, all of this can be traced back to that very first Adept. Remember that one Adept that got surrounded over here by 4 Zerglings? It's a little while ago, but it's ultimately what set all of this in motion. The early game has a very significant impact on the remainder of the match. It's one of the difficult parts for, well, both the Zerg as well as the Protoss, but when your early game doesn't go well, it becomes a very difficult game overall to play. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen like a lurker follow-up here for Reynor. That usually seems to be the play. But he's just gonna go mass Zergling instead. Just mass Zergling, mass Muta. Adrenal Glance is coming. That is the attack speed improvement. Maybe if he kills the Immortals, how many are remaining? That's still 6 of them. Okay. I was thinking maybe Ultralisks could be part of the game too, but... yeah, this has been survival for a long time now. And while Skillous is still technically alive, I don't think his chances in this game are particularly good. Reynor a little late there on the +2 flyer attacks. He's been so busy microing everything. Turns out 767 APM is not enough. Just play faster. Just play quicker. It solves so many problems. Yeah, if you're struggling in StarCraft or really any RTS game, just do things better and faster. Usually that's the option. Can somebody check if Reynor has like a mechanical arm? Maybe he's got like a 3rd arm somewhere. Seems a little too fast for a human. I mean, it's a costly set of exchanges here too, right? Like, it's not like Zerg is really trading super efficiently here. The problem is that there's just no way out of this for Skillous. Like, Skillous is trying to play SimCity at this point. He's having a good time, but he knows where this game is headed. Now with Adrenal Glands done as well, those links just get basically Stimpak. It's like a permanent Stimpak. GG is cold. It's Reynor who wins game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on Ghost River. So basically what happened that game is the Adept over at the 3rd base of the Zerg got surrounded by slow Zerglings. At which point, it became difficult for Skillous to take the 3rd Nexus, and as a result, he needed to keep his first Harassment Oracle at home. Because the Harassment Oracle needed to stay at home, the Zerg was not, well, harassed, not until a little bit later on into the game. And at that point, the Zerg economy, when it's completely unhindered like that, it just carries the game super hard. Now, we've seen a lot of games, specifically from, for example, MaxPax, where he gets like literally 20 worker kills and it just makes it look pretty broken. It all comes down to the early game aggression. If the early game aggression from Protoss goes well against a regular macro opener from the Zerg, they are very far ahead. However, if you deal no damage whatsoever, yeah, you find yourself very far behind. And that was basically the story of the previous game. It's the first Adept getting surrounded that then triggered the Oracle defense. And with the Oracle defense, Reynor said, perfect, I'll just be building a ton of drones. Yeah, this is not like the campaign mission where Matthew Horner comes and defends. You know, when you defend for like 30 minutes or so, Matthew shows up in the Hyperion. Yeah, maybe it's more like Artanis in the Mothership. Artanis in the Mothership did not show. He did try to hold on for a long time, but ultimately, the Zerg swarm was relentless. In that mission, actually, they do have, I think it's like the 3rd mission or so of Wings of Liberty. Is it the 3rd? No, it might be the 4th. Anyways, maybe even the 5th. Not entirely sure. But there are Mutas and Zerglings in that one too. And a couple Banelings. And Roaches as well, actually. The first mission is the one with Jimmy, where you have the civilians saying, don't go up that road. Right? You shoot down those banners. The second mission is the one where you unlock the medics. And you have those medics going around and stuff, and you kind of have to like get the Zelnaga artifact. I think it's the 3rd. But I'm not sure. There might be one in between. In my defense, I've only played the Wings of Liberty campaign about a dozen times over the last 2 years. I'm not supposed to know these sort of things. Alrighty. Stargate coming up once again for Mr. Skillous. The Adept is going to go across the map. Maybe it's more like that Wings of Liberty Protoss mission, the 4th one from the Zeratul pack, where you have to defend for a long time with Protoss, but then you ultimately die. The one with the foreshadowing? Maybe that was, yeah. Maybe that's what Skillous was playing. He was hoping that Matt Horner was going to show up with the Hyperion, but he accidentally found himself in a mission where he was guaranteed to lose. That mission is literally not winnable. It's a scripted loss. Alrighty, so getting a drone for the time being is not bad. We should have an Oracle out pretty soon. Yeah, Oracle being chronoed right at this point in time. Third Adept will be coming. Second Gateway at the front as well. That means that there should be a Nexus building at about 350. About 350 is when this Nexus should start up. Reynor's going to check. He wants to snipe this probe. That probe, however, is safe. And there's the Nexus. Start it up. Okay. I think the Oracle should go across. Yeah, there's no reason for this one to sit over here. This is a map with a very quick rush distance. But if you're gonna take the long road, it does take a while. This one is gonna arrive right around the same time, I think, on the other side of the map. One in the natural, one in the third, both in the third, one in the main. The options are, well, I was gonna say limitless, but that's not the case. It is dragging the queens all the way away, though, so maybe this can get some damage in. One. Oh, target. Okay. A little bit of floatiness. It's actually insane when you see, for example, max specs. I mean, specifically max specs. Controlling his oracles in a game where, yeah, he is feeling like he is doing his utmost with these units. He just gets so much value out of them. I think he would have probably had like 3 workers there. Anyways. Oracle doing its little Oracle dance, providing the high ground vision. But this is a much more even game now. Twilight Council on the back of this. Roach Warren together with a Evo Chamber. I do still prefer this position right now for Reynor though, despite the fact that he did lose a few drones. It's really not that much. It's straight Stalkers here on the back of this from Skillous, which is quite interesting. Most of the top tier Protosses go for like 5 or 6 or so Adepts at this point in time. But Skillous has decided to skip those Adepts and just go straight into Stalkers. This is now prompting Reynor to go into the +1 melee upgrade, rather than the +1 missile. So this will probably be Ravager Ling for the time being here for the Zerg. And the +1 melee is going to be really good against the Stalkers, of course. Usually Zerg players do favor the missile upgrade in the current meta. For a little while it was basically only missile, but nowadays we see melee again quite a bit too. But will we see a Baneling Nest? That's the main question. I don't think so. I think this is mostly just a response to seeing the Stalkers. Melee is still good. Ling run-bys are basically always a part of the meta anyways, but I don't think this is gonna be full Ling Bane, like what it used to be back in the day. Hydrodank coming up, and there's the Templar Archives. So Skillous is going for what seems to be a relatively laid-back approach. I mean, he does have Blink finishing up, but we're only on 4 gateways. Yeah, he's still harassing with the Oracles, gets an additional 2 kills, not bad. But I think it's about time we're gonna see like a 4th Nexus here in a moment. Yeah. Beautiful scouting here by Reynor, by the way. Like, he's already had a Zergling parked here about 30 seconds or so ago. So even though he doesn't have the perfect vision, like I do when I'm casting these games, when I'm looking at the replays, he's already well prepared for everything. He's got limited information, but he's reading his opponent like a book. Constantly checking if there's a potential for a run-by. Stalkers now run on over towards the third. They were on their way to their 4th, but they had to go back. Couple pylons, couple probes, nothing all too crazy. But in the meantime, this is buying a ton of time for those Hydralisks to come out. And Hydras with full upgrades are about 10 times better than unupgraded Hydras. Like, Hydras without their range and their speed upgrade kind of suck. Instant hive. This is a 7.5 minute hive. That's very quick. 5th Nexus is, or 5th Zerg Nexus rather, in the bottom left. A couple of Hydras show up here. I think he wants to see if he can bust the natural. It's gonna be tough to do, but I mean the Hydras will put in quite a bit of supplemental damage. Yeah, he's just trying to target fire down whatever he can. Storm at this point is done, however. We also have Blink. Okay, saves the battery. Or the High Templar rather, with the battery. I think he even targeted that specific High Templar, because the shield battery targeted the different one initially. Okay. So this is very fast lurkers, but lurkers are still a little while away. Much like Hydras, lurkers aren't very good until they get both of their upgrades. So Skillous has several minutes right now where his army is going to be superior. It's just difficult to push deep onto creep. Yes, this is a good army, but a lot of these units do need a little bit of a buffer. I wouldn't mind an Archon. Maybe, yeah, maybe just stick to like 4 or 5 Templar for now. Oh, picking off a Queen here is good. Good start. The Zerglings might be thinking about a counterattack, but these are lurkers coming up right now that are unupgraded. So Seismic Spines is on the production tab. This is again a Reynor just trying to play and buy time. Stasis Ward over here is really nice. Reynor realizes he could be in trouble here. Yep, good stasis. There is detection, isn't there? Yeah, okay. Oracle flies over. Don't lose the oracles! Ugh, okay. I don't think there is a... Oh, there is an observer in the mix too. Anyways, the longer that this goes on, the more defendable it becomes right now for Reynor. That range upgrade in particular is big. Seismic Spines, additional range for lurkers. Look at the little dotted outline here. That's their current max range. And there's their next max range, their new max range. It adds up very, very significantly. And suddenly, upon seeing that upgrade, Skillous decides to go back home. He wanted to go further than that, but upon seeing the upgrade, he decides to go Fleet Beacon. This now opens up an opportunity, though, for Reynor to go across the map again. He probably wants to get the Burrow upgrade, too, for the lurkers, though. He hasn't yet queued it up. Okay. Let's see. What can we do? I think Skillous is just gonna get the Mama Ship. Mama Ship has been a really popular addition as of late against... Oh, maybe not. No, he does decide to go additional Stargates right now. Okay. It has been a popular addition, though, to the ground toss. +1 air coming up, too. He's got a lot of units sitting at home. These are very expensive army units. I don't think Skillous really wants to fight, but he is making it look like he is feeling comfortable. Here's the problem, though, man. Are we gonna send units in here? We're gonna recall. That's dangerous, but here we go. Big storms going down, but a lot of the Templar are also full. A recall like that is incredibly risky because you cannot control where the units appear around the Nexus. So you just kind of recall and you wing it. You hope that the army units appear on the right side. A very risky play right there, and I don't think it played, in the way that Skillous was hoping. He did not realize that a large chunk of those lurkers was going around the map. Tempest coming up. There's a third robotics facility too. Spire is building in case it's going to be a mass Skytles transition. But I think Reynor is once again showing us that he is just one tiny little step ahead of Skillous here strategically. Zergling run by at the bottom of the map once again. These are adrenal glands links, so they do a lot of damage. Yeah, and Reynor is looking really good here. Not surprising, of course. The World Cup is coming, and Reynor has been putting in a ton of work. And these are the games where we can see that practice. Skillous, by the way, is definitely a top 10 contender on the European server. One of the very best. And... I mean, he's not out of this game yet. There's the mothership coming up. I think Skillous basically has to go for one of those final pushes. One of those, I'm gonna put all my eggs in one basket and just go. Right? One of those attacks, and it's a dangerous play, but it's possible. He does have detection over here. The queens will probably try and see if they can get within range. Yep, there we go. Detection goes not down, actually. Queens were trying to target it to the best of their abilities, but I think the Overseer may have been on just barely out of range. This is a bit of an overextension for Reynor, I believe, but he might just have the troops. Yeah. GG. Okay. Alcyone is next. Third game in this best of 5 series and already match point right here for the Italian Zerg. Skillous is gonna have to win 3 games in a row if he wants to obtain the victory here. That is going to be very difficult. Now, I'm a big fan of reverse sweeps. At least as a StarCraft fan, they are incredibly exciting to watch. But does anybody win against Reynor 3 games in a row? We'll see. So far, I really like what Reynor is doing. I hope I'm doing, I'm hoping I'm doing a decent job explaining the decision making here. It's ultimately kind of like a real-time chess match, right? Like, it's taken many years of StarCraft to get to this point. StarCraft is still very much so about executing things quicker than the opponent. But these two are playing a proper strategy game. They know the rules of the game, they have the speed to do everything they want to do. It's kind of funny, but sometimes it can feel like StarCraft especially, only at the absolute highest level is when the game is an actual strategy game. Below, basically any other point, it's all about trying to play the game faster than the opponent. And obviously there's a part that is strategy. But these two are playing some very clever games. Okay. Now, Skillous is getting a bit of damage done in the early game, but nothing all too crazy. I wouldn't mind seeing, well, obviously it's not like he's not trying, but I wouldn't mind seeing him get a few more kills in the early game. Those drone snipes are so pivotal. Like, even if you got, say he would have gotten like 2 or 3 more worker kills with the oracles in the previous game, there's a very good chance that the ultimate lurker numbers that we saw at the very end of the previous game would not have been sufficient. It sounds like it's very unexciting, but like the first 4, 5, 6 minutes or so of a game of StarCraft 2 are so critical. Especially in this matchup. I feel like the other matchups are a little bit more forgiving. But for Protoss, it's all about playing the cleanest early game as possible. Terran and Zerg a little bit too, but yeah, not quite to the same extent, actually. I think Protoss overall is a little bit more build order dependent. A little bit more momentum based. Okay. Oracles. And I think I'm gonna do a magic trick. Magic trick coming up. And it's an Oracle. What? Who would have thought? Okay. Oracle's gonna go across. No kills thus far. It's an interesting follow-up, by the way, from Skillous in the previous game. The fact that he decided to go for the Stalkers rather than the Adepts early on, and then just transition towards Storm together with a 4th Nexus, it's not quite the conventional follow-up. Most of the time we see Oracles accompanied with like 5, maybe all the way up to like 8 Adepts or so. I'm not exactly sure about the numbers, but Skillous decided to skip that. He went for a few Adepts early on, a few Oracles early on, but then straight into Blink and a whole lot of Stalkers. But then he didn't actually attack with the Stalkers, he just used them to leverage his way into a 4th. Now this is an interesting commitment. Don't love that. Don't love that at all. 2 Adepts. 2 Adepts for 3 drones is very suboptimal. Bit of damage right now as well on the Oracle taken, and this is not the start you're hoping for. Yeah. I'm trying to think what exactly goes wrong here with the Oracle play. A lot of it is just grouped up together, I guess. So the units are just clumped together a lot rather than individually controlled. It is obviously difficult to keep them alive while also dealing damage. Especially if you've got like 3 control groups for 3 adepts, 3 oracles, but it is... yeah, it's just not quite the optimal play. So 3 drones and 8 Zerglings at this point in time is once again gonna give Reynor the flying start that he is hoping for. And it looks to me, okay, he's going 4 gases. 4 gases, Lair, Roachwarren, okay. We do not have an evolution chamber this time around. Follow-up here from Skillous is also something else. So he's forced to do something here, and apparently that something is him going into the charge together with the +1. Okay. There's the Overlord speed once again. There's the Roach production. I wonder if this is actually just going to be a Roach drop. Like a Roach Queen drop over at the 3rd base. It's a strong play. Yeah. Creep a little bit further forward. There's indeed the Drop-A-Lord coming up. Brenda! Margaret! Lily! Everybody's going. This is scanned though. This is scouted right now. He had a revelation on those units. Do we only have a single Drop-A-Lord? There's not enough room, dude. Brenda is... Yeah, she takes up a lot of space. We've talked about this. Can we pick up one more? Which one is it going to be? No, you guys have to walk. I'm sorry. We're just using this as like an initial squad. Let's see. Now, the nice thing for Skillous is that he saw this coming in from quite a distance. So he's had some time to prepare. Shield battery overcharge does not get popped too early. He added on some additional batteries too. Queens though have the opportunity here to transfuse each other because the creep drop here is very, very handy. So far though, minimum losses on the side of the Protoss. Okay. Keep in mind that he does have charge, and charge is quite nice in these base defense situations. Reynor is getting a few biles. But it allows the opportunity right now for Skillous to go into a few Archons and whatnot as well, right? So as soon as Zerg lets go here, I think he's going to try and get a couple of Archons going again. I don't think that would be a bad play. Overall, only a single worker has gone down. Now this was only the first wave. It seems like there's more coming across the map. But Reynor has not got a 4th hatchery or anything along those lines. Okay. Observer chasing all of this around. We do have a cheeky little link drop over here, but Zealots with +1. They 2-shot Zerglings rather than 3-shot, which is really good. Good set of force fields over here too. That Drop-A-Lord is nowhere to be seen. It's right over here. Poop and creep rather than picking up the weakened units. Reynor is starting to make a little bit of headway over here, but the shield batteries have regen some energy. Excellent defense here by Skillous. Really well done. He's lost literally 1 probe this entire game. That may have been the scouting worker for all I know. Now Reynor is forced to go into a hatchery over at the Golden Minerals. And it's up to Skillous to maybe try and get some damage done on the other side of the map. Now it's a little risky for him to send those units out at this point in time, because there's still aggression over at the front. 3 Immortals available at this point in time though is really nice. Don't lose one. Okay, he does lose one. Don't lose another one. Okay, he does lose another one. Still though, I think the Archon Immortal count here might just be okay for now. Skillous decides to stop making workers at 69. Which is not bad. Some might even call it nice. And I think I would consider that too. Since Reynor is only at 56. The Zealots get unloaded over at the 3rd base. He sees the lack of workers here. He did see the drones leave as well. I'm assuming he realizes that the gold base has been acquired. The Zergling drop goes into the main base. Additional gateways coming up. Blink about 1/3 of the way done. Yeah, lovely hold right there by Skillous. That was on a razor's edge. Very easy to slip up. We might have to cancel this Nexus, but... yeah, we're gonna have to cancel that Nexus. As long as he doesn't lose it straight up, it's fine. Oh, the queens actually are disconnected from their brood for now. I think it's up to Skillous right now to lay down the next attack. He wants to try and see if he can kill the Overlord. I wouldn't mind seeing just like one Phoenix going up at this point, just to try and be annoying against these OV drops, because even though they've been dealt with so far, they can sometimes backstab you and just deal a lot of damage, but pro gamers almost, even if he, you know, he did make a Stargate, obviously, they will pretty much never make a Phoenix at this point in time. They would rather dedicate about 20 supply of units to sitting in the main. Zealot run by on the top section of the map. Big Protoss push. Coming through the bottom lane. +3 is coming up. Immortal production still going strong. He decides to recall the Stalkers to watch the third. We could have walked them there, but apparently these guys get the luxury treatment. Wants to have them with this force over here as quickly as possible. And the idea is to kill the Nexus, or the Zerg Nexus over here. And that mission has been accomplished. In the meantime, Zealots slip around the left. Stalker warp in over at the bottom of the map are going to be able to get rid of those links pretty easy. And I think if Skillous can force the main engagement, that he's got this one in the bag. I mean, it's still losable. Especially if we start misrallying Immortals. But those are mistakes that shouldn't really be happening all too frequently. Yeah, problem here for Reynor is that he's stuck on 3 bases. He tried taking a 4th, whereas in the meantime on the other side of the map, Skillous has been ahead economically the entire time, and he's gonna get a 4th base done before Reynor will finish his. Will even begin his, and that's big. I mean, obviously he had one just a little bit ago. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to scout exactly what's going on. And you will see indeed that the hatchery is being remade. Perfectly rallied hallucination. Reynor still maxed out though, but he's finishing +1, as Skillous is finishing +3. Now believe it or not, I've got enough fingers to count this out for you. 3 is more than 1, and therefore +3 is usually a more powerful upgrade than +1. Lucky for me, it does not go all the way up to +11. That would be impossible. Oh my god, that's a lot of Ravagers. But I just don't think there's enough stuff in general. We do have a bit of a run by over here too. Immortal is trying to dance in the natural. Billy Genius. That guy was trying to moonwalk around. Shield battery overcharge is nice. Pulsar beam could be activated. Zealot run by though inside of the main base, because the prism is still around. Main army of the Protoss in the meantime is destroying that of the Zerg. And I think that just like that, Skillous gets the job done. Amphion is going to be the 4th game in this best of 5 series. 2 drones decide to hang around. I was wondering what was going on there. You guys are moving it over towards the left side. I fast forwarded through the first couple minutes of the game just because it's once more a very normal opener. Reynor though wants to become neighbors with his opponent. Good guy, Reynor. Yeah, I don't really know much about Italian culture, I suppose, but I'm assuming... Yeah, being friends with your neighbor is you know, I'm assuming in basically any culture that's important. So Reynor has decided to come relatively close to his opponent. Assuming at least that Skillous wants to be neighbors. There's a good chance that Skillous is like, nah, I'm gonna be taking the expansion over here instead. Normally Zerg players don't really like taking the triangle base so much, but... yeah, he's gonna scout this out as well. He's like, oh, suspicious. Suspicious. 2 mineral fields. There it is. I think Skillous probably figured it out a little quicker than that. Yeah, I'm assuming he noticed it as soon as the hatchery wasn't built over here. But still. For dramatic effect, the Adept did not get the intel for itself yet. Getting a drone? Nope. Nothing happened. Just a little spore crawler trick, and that's about it. I was gonna say. Yeah, I was thinking about a Void Ray. Oh, he cancelled. So he did Void Ray, cancelled it for an Oracle, and then restarted again for a Void Ray. Should you be avoiding the Void Ray? That's a question I was wondering about too, Skillous. I think... Yes, I think you should avoid this. I feel like this is bait. I pretty much always think whenever you are making a Void Ray, it's bait. Like, there are scenarios where it's good. It's, say, for example, like a PvP or something, right? Like, there are situations where it can be very handy. But it's... I think you're better off avoiding race. Or avoiding Void Race. Yeah. I mean, you kill an Overlord. Whoop-de-doo. It's a nice laser ability, I'll give you that. I love lasers as much as the next guy, but I feel like overall... It's not really worth it. Okay, if we can get a second one, I think it's decent. That's not a very thick beam, but it's still a beam that counts. Transfuses the OV. Yeah, maybe you should have saved the thick beam for the second OV rather than the first. Oracles in the meantime swoop in. 2 kills so far. Swoops back around. Overlord in still a little bit of trouble. Tons of lost mining time though for Reynor. Look at that. That's what those drones were sounding like whenever they... Alright, now the drones are back to mining. Yeah, and was this Void Ray worth it? I don't think so. I don't like it. I just don't see the usefulness in this unit. It's kind of like being forced to make a Viking, but then Vikings are much cheaper and in general just... Doesn't even... Like, resource-wise, not even that big of a difference, I guess, but it's just... I don't know. It feels like you can get away with a Viking a lot more easily in Zerg versus Terran than you can get away with a Void Ray in Protoss versus Zerg.
I believe in the Void Ray.
Brian! Brian, you were muted! Huh? How did... I muted Brian before I started this... Brian just started whispering in my ear. He believes in... Thank you, Brian. Sometimes Brian appears out of nowhere. I've been casting for such a long time. I've done this exact setup. Like, I haven't really changed anything in my setup in a very long time. Brian is always muted when I switch. Okay. Anyways, thank you, Brian, for your beautiful addition. It's once again a Spire follow-up right here from Reynor. So Reynor, maybe not inspired by Brian, but inspired by the Void Ray. He's decided, you know what? I am going to be sending some of my flippy flappies around the map. And the question is, will Skillous figure out about this? Like, will we know? Because if he is once again not prepared, he's going to be in a world of trouble. Now, he did figure it out in the last possible second on Oceanborn earlier. So since he knew on Oceanborn that was a Spire, I think the game went on for like 4 minutes longer. But it was really just the inevitable, right? Like, it was essentially... Like, he found out, but it was still a little late. Now, he hasn't seen the Spire this time around, but I guess he's looking at the movement here from the Zerg and the way that the gases are taken over at the 4th nice and quickly. Like, the gases were taken before the hatchery even really finished. So, Skillous is already queuing Phoenixes. He doesn't know what's going on, but he knows what's going on. He doesn't know, but he knows. I think it's honestly because of the Void Ray, to be honest. Like, the Void Ray here, only 3 drones in total. Pretty terrible beginning for Protoss overall. +1 air again. So we are just going mass muta. Now he finds the Phoenixes. And that's gonna make the game a little bit funky. What do you do here as Reynor? So one thing you can do is go into Corruptors on the back of this. I feel like Corruptors are not a terrible choice, but it's just it's a costly unit to produce, right? And yeah, in general, the Phoenixes are scary, but are they that scary? Main problem is when the Phoenixes get their ranged upgrade. So Reynor's actually mining out the mineral fields in the back of the Protoss as natural, which is really cheeky, because it's gonna open up the front door. Or it's gonna open up the back door, I guess. Yeah. And at this point, Skillous has no clue about it. Muta's going around. Trying to drag the entire Protoss army towards that newly acquired high ground expansion. Second Stargate coming up. It might be time as well for a Fleet Beacon here, honestly. I think Fleet Beacon with your ranged upgrade for the Phoenixes is essentially a necessity. But Skillous is forced to play defensive now. Let's see. Suddenly, there's a mass amount of swarm inside of your natural expansion. Shield battery overcharge! Does keep that Archon alive for a lot longer. Archon's now trying to go into the main base. Adept, you're on hold position! Oh my god, that Adept is actually blocking the entire Protoss army from getting into the natural. That's a problem Hero would never have to deal with. Okay, no, sorry. Hero's not really been doing that much anymore. There's no way in this scenario he would have been able... No. Anyways. 20 probes end up going down here. But is that good enough? That was a costly set of units to lose for the Zerg player too. And it's not like Skillous is really forced to deal right now with just an onslaught of Zerg. So the follow-up from Reynor is a little different this game. In the previous one, where he went Mass Muta on Oceanborn, he decided to just basically go Mass Muta Ling. That was it. Like it was a Brood War game. This time around, it's a Lurker Den with a relatively fast Hive. And while Phoenixes are not a terrible choice against Lurkers, right? You can still lift them up and stuff and take them out of the equation. They're not amazing either. Nice sniping right here by Reynor. Gets the Oracles as well. He sniped the Stargate. Now there's a second Stargate. Shield battery overcharge is going to be activated once more. Gets one of the Phoenixes on their way home. Stasis? Good stasis. Important stasis too, actually, because these armies are not very small. Is Reynor overextending here? I feel like he's going a little deep here. He's lost the base, by the way, at the 9 o'clock position, so great movement right there by Skillous. He's like, yo, the back door is open? Perfect. I guess I'll use that to my advantage now, even though it originally caught him off guard. Ranged upgrade coming up for the Lurkers, though, in the meantime. The thing is, though, this Protoss army here that Skillous is making is also really good against the Lurker transition, right? Like, Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Storm, Stalker, couple Phoenixes. It's not bad. And right now, most of the Mutas seem to be cornered. And I think the age for the Muta may very well be over. The Zerglings are going to try and create a distraction over at the high ground base again. Skillous did lose 33 workers in total, but I don't absolutely hate it. I don't know. I don't think I hate this position for him. It's playable. Main problem is the Lurkers. Skillous doesn't know how many Mutas are actually going to be produced. Like, there is a moment where you want to give up on the Phoenixes for sure. Although, if you have detection, you can still lift the Lurkers up out of the sky. And they will be unburrowed, of course. Even when the Phoenixes get sniped really quickly by the Hydras. Okay. Reynor taking that base again over on the left side of the map. Couple of Zealots in the bottom right. Not achieving much other than death. There's the Adrenal Glands upgrade again. I think Skillous is basically just trying to max out. The only thing he doesn't have here, which I wonder if he should be getting, is the Storm upgrade. So he did never get Psionic Storm. It's just Archons and Stalkers. Storm is good against everything the Zerg has. Especially against Lings and Mutas, but certainly not a bad play either against Lurkers and Hydras. Okay. So the question is, when is Skillous going to move? Really? We're gonna expand behind this? Okay, I think we really need to attack as well, though. Yeah, I think he will. I thought for a second we were going full Showtime and we're just gonna take that base and then sit on it. There's Storm coming up. I think he realizes right now that he doesn't have Storm. Yeah. Nexus immediately gets cancelled. Phoenixes do find the mutas now, of course. Fleet Beacon starts up. Okay. Yeah, Fleet Beacon starts with additional Stargates. The last of the mutas. A bygone age. And they're dead. It's a sad moment, dude. 45 mutas are gone. And I feel like this suddenly becomes a game where you can breathe again as Protoss. Even though the mutas really weren't that big of an issue, it becomes difficult for Protoss to make decisions to move out, right? So immediately, yeah, now he's feeling a little bit more ambitious. Lurkers do have their ranged upgrade. They do have their burrow upgrade too. Rocks will be destroyed just to create a little bit more wiggle room. Yeah. Moving your entire army up the ramp is probably not the greatest thing you can do. Reynor was hoping, though, that that was going to be the decision of the Protoss player, but only the Stalkers were left on that high ground. Reynor losing a bunch of Lurkers right there, uncharacteristically, but that's also because he was dealing with Zealots in the main base. One Corruptor coming up. Okay. Nexus, about halfway done now on the high ground. Front door still wide open. Skillous sees this coming in from a mile away. He doesn't have enough money to just build a bunch of structures there and re-wall himself in. And instead, we're gonna have a surround over here. Storm at this point, though, is finished. The High Templar are very exposed, but it looks like Skillous will be able to retreat. He's now smashed his piggy bank, and what little money he has, he's going to spend right now on carriers. Oh, Lurkers once again unburrowed. Reynor, wakey wakey. 700 APM or not. I've now seen quite a few of those Lurkers going down, and I don't actually know if there's enough. I agree right here with Skillous. Moving forward is certainly the correct choice, albeit a scary one. Hatchery will now get picked off as well. Lovely work. In the meantime, that 9 o'clock expansion that Reynor retook again is also in a little bit of trouble. I don't think you have to stick around. I think you go back home with all of these units now. Zergling run by up towards the high ground. Protoss currently maxed out, so he can't actually warp in a ton of units here. So instead he's going to be recalling. Okay. Those High Templar have been left behind, man. They get to float above the creep. There you go. You just noticed before the Zerg would find it. Nicely done. The mothership is coming up. +2 air weapons. Fired up immediately upon finishing the +1. He did lose a bunch of probes just now, all the way up to 50. But this is certainly looking like a much nicer game right now for Skillous than it did a few minutes ago. Zerg is sort of stuck with this like early late game army. Right? Like, you really don't want to be playing Hydras as your anti-air unit. Corruptors really are the correct choice, but the problem is he hasn't been able to really upgrade them much, and in general, it's just... It feels like a tough decision right now. This will be, though, when he realizes how many carriers he's going up against. It's not that many yet, but 2 more are coming. +2, by the way, is the big upgrade for those units. Makes them hit what feels like twice as hard. The Protoss armies are also meeting in the middle, it seems. And the middle happens to be one of the Zerg bases. That tiny little choke point. Oh, perfect combination of time warps and psionic storms. GG is cold, and we are going to game 5. Alrighty. And just like that, we find ourselves on Site Delta. Final game in this best of 5 series. What was previously looking like a 3-0 sweep for Reynor is now becoming a little risky. A little risky right here for the Zerg. Skillous, playing a really good game 3 and 4, is now finding himself with a lot of momentum on his side. Where do we take this from here? I don't think he's really going to change much. You can see that the Zerg players in this meta currently are a lot more keen to try and get the game over with. In the past, we wouldn't really see Zerg players going into quick mutas like that so much. They're back again after quite a few years, it seems, of not really being played much in this matchup. But it looks like the Zerg players are, yeah, looking... Oh, all right. Brenda, jeez. That did nothing wrong. Anyways, the Zerg players are, feeling the pressure to try and get the game over with before the late game. Whereas the Protoss players are like, yo, late game, let's go. So what exactly do you do here? Well, I feel like going into, for example... Well, just a standard macro game is not a bad idea. I've seen Reynor play a lot of standard macro games. We've recently obviously had a look at that game that he played against Goblin. That was a very long game of Zerg versus Protoss. So Reynor is perfectly capable of microing all of the different spellcasters, but... It seems like most of the top level Zergs are just not really keen on playing that style if they cannot all avoid it. Okay. Reynor going for a Spore Crawler at home. Twilight Council on the back it is right now for Skillous. And the Oracle will be going across the map right now. We have 2 of those bad boys. How much damage can they deal? So far, nothing. Reynor really safe, by the way. Triple Spore Crawler already. It's a little earlier than we would normally see spores at this level. I always think it's a good choice to make them earlier rather than later, but most of the Zergs at this level seem to disagree with that. They're always just making them later than they probably could have. Maybe sometimes later than they should have. Oh, it's gonna be Glaives? Really? Okay, Skillous. Trap has been playing a lot of Glaive to Depths lately. Interesting. The Roach Warren here will be done in time for Reynor. But is he expecting Glaives at all? Oh, the Adepts just attack each other right there for a second? I'm not exactly sure what went wrong. They certainly did miss one additional attack they could have had. Couple Adepts over at the third base too. Now, I don't mind the Adept harassment this game, but this is... I think it's a mind game from Skillous here on purpose. So, it feels weird because Skillous is doing this whilst going Glaive to Depths. So those Adepts are just about to hit a big power spike and he just gave away all these Adepts. Which is technically kind of dumb when you're just about to do a big Adept attack. But I think he's saying to Reynor, yo, I'm giving away these Adepts. I'm definitely not going Adepts. Whilst going Adepts, if that makes sense. It's like a reverse Uno, Uno, Uno. Or a reverse, 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 reverse. Anyways, suddenly the Adepts now are spotted. Roaches start up in desperation here for Reynor. He does do a full wall in, as these 2 drones over here find out. That does mean that the third base is in a little bit of trouble. But nice movement here overall. Don't send them all in that direction. This did buy enough time, though, for the Roaches to come out. I love the wall off here. I think it's a very good play. Do you cancel this? I don't think you do. No. Canceling it feels like a dumb idea. He does get the kill right now. Ultimately... Oh, it's once again Spire. Okay, so Reynor really does not want to play a long game here. I mean, in the previous game, he lost 45 mutas, didn't he? That does seem like a lot to me. Keep in mind, though, that Skillous, of course, has decided to go for Glaives as his very first upgrade. I think that essentially forces him to go Blink next, but he's not quite thinking about that yet. Reynor has enough to defend against these Adepts. There's 2 Immortals as well on the back of it, though, and those Immortals are currently not yet spotted. Problem is, there's no anti-air. Normally, mutas... Okay, I was gonna say, they're not really an attacking unit. But if there's no anti-air available, obviously it's not a terrible choice. A lot of the gas, though, of the Zerg has been dropped right now onto Ravagers just to try and defend against all of this. This is gonna be a very close fight. Good force fields here by Skillous, making it difficult for Reynor to really target anything down. Can we please have an additional warp in of Adepts? Okay, they've just marched straight through the center of the map. Where's that Prism hanging out? Prism, I think we need to go into the main or at the third or create a little bit more chaos. The Roach Warren itself gets targeted. Okay, well, I think the Mutas are now the only real way for Reynor to drop his gas. That's a lot of resources that he will not be easily able to spend. But there's like no anti-air in this army. Like there's 2 sentries and a stalker. Obviously he can warp in additional stalkers, but is he gonna shade on top of it? No. He's hoping for a bit of a better fight. Now 4 Mutas are showing up. Beautifully done right here by Skillous. 10 additional adepts get warped in to seal the deal. And it looks like we may very well have a reverse sweep on our hands. 3rd hatchery gets picked off. There is another hatchery down south of this location. Skillous does not have a 4th of his own. Reynor currently supply blocked. The Mutas do get spotted. He needs to target that Prism first and foremost, because otherwise there's going to be like 10 Stalkers on the back of this. Blink immediately fires up. This is going to put a bit of pressure though, and apparently, yeah, Skillous decides to dive deep immediately. He realizes that he needs to get something done with these units ASAP, because these Mutas are just going to continue chipping away. Another Immortal gets ready to cross the map, but nice defense right there by Reynor. In the meantime, the Adepts shade into the main base. 8 drones, 10 drones. That's nothing all too terrible. That's recoverable. Worker-wise, Reynor is still fine. Spire itself in a world of trouble right now, and I think it will end up going down. Yep, he decides to cancel the shade right there just to secure the kill and recalls those units on out of there. Okay. As the dust settles, is this a playable game for Reynor? I think it is. 3rd hatchery went down. A lot of drones fell. Spire has also gone down, so the tech has been reset. I think this is a Swarm Host game now. I think Infestation Pin to Swarm Hosts may very well be the best play. Mutas still flying around. They know that their time is limited. Okay. Adepts going around the side. I love this additional group of Adepts so much. These are sometimes Adepts that can deal more damage than an entire previous massive clump. Yep, a lot of damage being done all over the map. There's a group of them as well at the bottom. 13 drones end up falling. The Mutas also come all the way back home, which is exactly what Skillous is hoping for. This gives them enough time right now to finish up the Blink upgrade. Hive is building. Okay, Reynor wants to maybe go Adrenal Glands or maybe Vipers or whatever, but it is not Swarm Hosts. It's gonna be Banelings now. I feel like Banelings is a very dangerous choice. I mean, it's not something Skillous is going to expect, but Banelings are very defendable for Protoss at this stage in the game. Obviously, they're literally hit or miss though. So sometimes we see Banelings just blow up an entire mineral line and, you know, your entire game analysis, yeah, is irrelevant. He hasn't seen the... No, he did see the Baneling Nest with those Adepts that just went to the bottom of the map. A couple more Adepts right now at the 3 o'clock position. They shade into the natural. A couple drones for them would not be bad. Okay. Nice Immortal pickups here as well. Is the army, though, for Skillous big enough here? Prism, 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 Prism! Hello? This is the slowest group of Biles ever, but he does get the kill on it eventually. In the meantime, though, the Stalkers and the Immortals have been plowing through all of these units. Adrenal Gland starts up right now for the Zerg player as Hive is done. This was a bit of a clumsy fight. I think Skillous could have gotten more value out of that, just not controlling the Prism at all. Fourth Nexus is not coming up. And now suddenly, this game is becoming a bit desperate for the Protoss. I don't hate his position, but I am not in love with it anymore. Because his main base is running out. His natural expansion obviously has been up for about 10 minutes as well. That one is also running low. He needs to get a fourth Nexus going here ASAP. It's not like Reynor's economy is great. That's why I think the Banelings are a bit of a dangerous choice. Banelings obviously are very strong, but they are also costly. Rarely do they trade cost efficiently, at least. I think these guys are going to become Banelings, aren't you? Are you the Baneling boys? No, they're not Baneling boys. Nexus is coming up. Corrosive Biles over here can buy a lot of time, but It's gonna be the Phoenixes for now. This Nexus will likely get denied. You can easily snipe that one down. It does come at the cost of quite a few Zerg units, but here's the Banelings. And this is the first time that Skillous will see any of those in this entire series so far. Oh, Banelings may just be enough. This is Reynor basically shoving with everything that he's got. If you listen closely, you can hear him scream, "Get out of my game!" Is there enough? Adrenal Glands is finishing up after the engagement, but additional Lings are, well, streaming across the map. Roaches are coming. I think he's done it. Wow. What a game. That was a very, very close final match. I actually thought when the Adepts and the Immortals went across the map that it was game over. It looked to me like Skillous had completed the reverse sweep. Man, Reynor's so good. GG.